Everybody, welcome to the Church Communications Podcast. I'm here today with my friend Josh Taylor.
Good morning, Katie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
I think I'm pointing like the wrong way. He's actually over here on the screen. Sorry.
Yeah.
So Josh is normally with us in person, but today is actually in Nashville at a Story Brand Guide. He helps people during the Story Brand Guide stuff. Anyways, my name is Katie Allred. I didn't introduce myself. I'm the co-founder of Church Communication. And today we are going to be talking about how to strategically communicate your church's vision, values, and culture online. So this is actually a blog post I wrote a while back. But it's funny because I wrote this further back than when I had posted it. So I am interested to see the takeaways that we can have from it.
Yeah, great. It was a great article. I enjoyed reading it last night. It was really good.
Thanks. Thanks, Jeff.
It's actually a lot of things that we've been talking about and thinking about over the last week up here in Nashville. So
so tell me about tell me about the week, how the week's been. So like I said, Josh has been doing the Story Brand. He is a Story Brand guide, but he has been doing it a lot this past week, I guess. Like, what do you do for them?
So up in Nashville, so they had 250 business leaders and nonprofit leaders, church leaders from literally all over the world. I think there was like 13 different countries represented this week. And we're here in Nashville, and they went through Monday and Tuesday of the workshop. So they're learning how to implement StoryBrand into their business. And then these 2 days, today and tomorrow, are about 50 guides or people that are being certified to be StoryBrand certified guides. And that's actually happening right behind me. Actually, Donald Miller is teaching the guides right now, right behind me. So
jazz guys right there.
Yeah, so I get to hang out with them for a couple more days and just listen and get refreshed and spend some time with the team. So it's a lot of fun.
That's fun.
Yeah,
cool.
So they're doing another one in April if anybody wants to go.
The free advertising that we're offering. Yeah. So let's talk about some real advertising, because we actually
do a really big coffee cup. It like covers my face up when I do this. I just noticed that.
A really large coffee cup.
Yeah. It's been a long week.
So yeah, it has been a long week. You are correct. I'm actually trying to find my email here. Hold on one moment.
So one of the great things about this, and Katie, I want to get you to talk about this because this is kind of something that I've learned from you over the last several months as we've had conversations is, we talk about communicating our values and our mission through social media and what that means. But I think where we need to start is figuring out, how do you use social media, and is it important to actually have a strategy on how your team uses social media? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Huge thing. So, but before I jump into should your church have a social media strategy, I do have an advertiser for this week. So I'm going to read our wonderful ad copy from our advertiser, who I'm actually very excited to be partnering with. So, how many tabs do you have open on your computer right now to do your job? Probably a lot. Okay, so Bulletin puts all of your communication tasks in a single place. You can create your own print bulletins, send really cool mobile bulletins right to people's phones, schedule and post all of your social media, send text message alerts, and more. And it's going to completely change the way you communicate with your people for your church. So for the better. So you can get started today for free by going to usebulletin.com. So that is just usebulletin.com. Okay, so this is a totally new product, and they did a walkthrough with me yesterday on it, and I'm kind of blown away. The product is really cool. So you can actually design your physical print bulletin in it, and then you can make a mobile bulletin from the print bulletin and send it to people, text it to them. And then you can schedule the announcements that you have in your bulletin to your social media. Not that that's always the best way, and we'll kind of go through that too. I think there are good different ways to do your social media, but you can also just you can schedule social media in it. So anyways, it's usebulletin.com. We're really excited to be partnering with them. We're going to be partnering them for the next couple of weeks on our podcast. So anyways, cool product. Go check it out.
Christine says she has way too many tabs open at the moment, so she could probably use this.
So yes. All right. So go to usebulletin.com and just check it out. It's just fun. It's a fun little product. So hopefully we got your attention. All right. So let's jump in to how to strategically communicate. Oh my gosh, I have an alarm going off. Okay, how to strategically communicate your church's vision, values, and culture online. Let's start off with social media, because I feel like social media is your website should be the most important thing to your church, but I feel like people think social media is like what really is communicating the day-to-day things of your church. And so I think a lot of people love to just throw things at a wall with social media. I think that they love to just post, we have this event coming up, join us, join us, join us, join us. And all it's become is this noise. You're just adding to the noise of the scroll. And you're not probably seeing very much engagement with any of those posts. Organically, your reach is not probably going very far. And so I think that we have to change the way that we think about social media, and I've said this before, I'll say it a million times probably until I die. It's not, social media is not a billboard, it's a conversation. It is social. Literally, that is the key word in this media, is social media. So it's your church having a conversation with someone. And so, it's an entity having a conversation with a person. But I think the best way that we can do that, is to tell stories and to do stuff. So instead of like just posting graphics and inspirational content, I don't, that to me, I love it when churches are just like, here's a whole bunch of Bible graphics taken out of context. This is definitely going to help spread the gospel. Let's actually tell the story of how people are being redeemed through Christ in your church.
And it seems like those are the things that people like to share. Like people like to share those things.
People love to share that because first off, they probably know the person.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting the reach of the person themselves. And people love sharing their story. I think a lot of people are scared to ask people their story and have it recorded, but you'll be surprised how many people will be willing to tell your story, because I mean, isn't that like a fundamental part of coming to Christianity is I love to tell the story, right?
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a song.
And so, right, just like the hymn, right? I love to tell the story. And because everybody has one. Everybody has this faith journey of how, they once were lost and now they're found. Literally everybody has the story of how they came to Christ. And so shouldn't we be sharing that story? And everybody has one. So first off, everybody has one, and you can never share those stories too much. But two, everybody has something that God is teaching them right now, or they should, as a Christian. If they don't, maybe that's a bigger talk that you can have with them, and you opened it up because you want content for social media. But sorry, go ahead.
And of course, the best way to get people to share that is to put on there, if you don't share this, then you don't really love Jesus too. I mean, that's always the most effective, right?
So I'm thinking from your perspective as a human being, going and talking to them about it and then posting about it on social media. Don't just say, well, tell me what God's teaching you right now. I mean, you could do that. You could ask that question and people will share.
I just love the memes, where people looking through the Bible and saying, where does it say if I don't share the social media post that I'm falling out of grace?
That you're definitely going to go to hell. Right. It's just so
don't be cheesy.
Right. Or for this to 9 people, or you're going to, I don't know, Jesus, you're ashamed of Jesus or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If you're ashamed of me, I'm like, that is not what he meant.
10 times.
That is not what Jesus meant in this scenario. So the voice and the tone of your social media matter, and that's the first part of this thing, is that choosing the voice and tone of your social media. I think people don't think about that enough.
Mm-hmm.
How you say things and the way that you say them, it needs to be direct and concise, and it also needs to have the flavor of your church. So if your church is fun, it needs to be fun. If your church is traditional, it needs to be traditional sound. It needs to make sense for your congregation. You can't be hip and cool on your social media and then you're not hip and cool in person. I don't know.
Every church has a personality.
Right. Every church has a personality.
And it's important to understand that.
Right. And so, so I worked for a large corporate church that was very traditional in Nashville. And so I tried to communicate that with video, with a ton of video, so that you saw what the church was like.
Hmm.
and with testimony, with story, and then also through the way the graphics were created and that kind of stuff, it matched the overall theme of who the church was. So, and
Yeah.
every time I spoke, I also incorporated the church's mission and value in anything that I wrote. I tried to communicate what the mission and value of the church was, which for a long time when I was first there, it was about communicating what was next, so it was always
Hmm.
like forward thinking. So
Yeah.
I always tried to think in future tense more than I did in present tense when I was writing. And that changed when I was there. It changed from, not what's best next, but like it changed to, the whole gospel for the whole person, like became our
Hmm.
mission. And
Yeah.
so I was like, what can I do to communicate the whole gospel to the whole person in every single one of these posts?
Yeah.
Like, and that's like, right. That's like, how do you do that when you're just like trying to talk about Vacation Bible School,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And you're just trying to like promote this certain event.
Hmm.
Well, there are better ways to do it than just posting join us for Vacation Bible School.
Yeah.
Think about like interviewing your children's minister to talk about the benefits of Vacation Bible School, and maybe have them sit down with your pastor, so somebody who has seen more, so other people will watch it because maybe they know who your pastor is, and just get them to chat about what Vacation Bible School
Yeah.
is,
Here's why we
what
do it.
parents can expect,
Yeah.
right? Here's why we do it, and here's what parents can expect, and you're gonna get free childcare.
Yeah.
Yeah, just talk about like why would you want your child to go through Vacation Bible School?
Yeah.
I think especially in this Asian generation, um, the children that are coming up are gonna have so many questions about who they are, like identity crisis, right? I think parents are even going, our generation are going through some identity crisis. So I think just reminding people that that they can find their identity in Christ, and maybe Vacation Bible School is a part of that, I think, is huge, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So trying to, don't post only inspirational content. Don't just post things about events that are coming up. Try to focus on telling story. Try to use stories to promote your events. Try to use video on the, what is it like called when you're in person? I don't know,
Yeah.
on the
Well,
go.
and we're so captivated by stories. We're so captivated by, I mean, we live our life looking for a great story, and we want to live our life as a great story. I mean, we all
Right.
wake up every morning as the person, the main character in our story, and so we're just captivated by stories. That's why we spend so much money at the box office,
Right.
because we want to be captivated by that. It's the same way with people that are following you on social media. They want to hear these stories, and it's through the stories that we can communicate who we are and what's important to us.
Right.
Was there like certain questions that you would ask when you would post things on social media that, does this align with our vision, or,
Right. I mean, I
like a
think it
litmus
was all
test?
very internal, but I
Hmm.
think my church was also very good at just reminding us daily, like, this is our mission and vision. Like, these are the things that we are trying to do as a church to move forward.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, if your church doesn't have a clear mission and vision, and of course, you might be like, well, the gospel is our mission and vision. Yeah, it is. Like, I mean, that is the point.
But how do you
Um,
communicate the gospel?
but how do you communicate it? Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think setting up a distinct mission and vision for your church in the geographic area that your church reaches makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
And just figuring whatever that is hard, and so that's
Hmm.
definitely another topic for another podcast.
So
But
you talk about authenticity is king, and I've heard you
yeah,
say that quite a bit. So what does that really mean for churches? How do we be authentic, and how do we find that balance of being authentic and and oversharing, which often happens when we're trying to be authentic?
yeah, I don't think you have to necessarily overshare, but I think sharing just enough. It's changing your stream of consciousness writing into an impactful, statement. So whether that is talking to someone and doing something like very much like Humans of New York. If you haven't ever seen Humans of New York, go look at Humans of New York, their Facebook page. And all they do, this guy just goes up to people on the street and says, "Hey, can I interview you?" And he asks them maybe a series of questions that he's probably pre-written, and asks the same questions over and over again. And then he takes a picture of this person, he shares it on social media. Well, it tells a story. It's impactful. I'm sure that he edits it down for content just to what he thinks is the most important statement. Gets them to sign off on it, and then he posts it, right? So you can do that at your church too. So all you got to do is come up with some questions that you want to ask people. Maybe the same 3 questions, like, what are you praying for right now? Maybe. What is God teaching you right now? Maybe what has God taught you in the past, or what has God done in your life that you would love to talk, like share with somebody, or whatever. So it may be as short and simple as God hasn't failed me, or something, or patience, like God's just teaching me patience, like. And then you take a picture of that person, you just share it on social media. I shared an example of that we did when I was at Brentwood on our page, and it's very impactful for people, just because it's relatable and that kind of stuff. People too also love seeing their friends on social media, so the more you can get pictures of faces, the better you'll do, because social media again is about being social. It's about faces,
and that has stopping power.
Right.
Like, people will stop scrolling when they see a face, especially when a face they recognize.
Right. Especially if it's a good quality photo. Yeah, just stop. You don't have to make it too graphic or something. Just post a picture and then write the story in the comment. It's actually better for accessibility reasons, in case, somebody is blind and reading things. I know that seems silly, but I think about accessibility a lot now as a teacher, and it's really important that we also make our things available for all people to read. So
in that blog post, you quote Adam from Ask Adam and his podcast, and he says one of the things that he does when he posts social media posts is, we are clear about our 4 core values. So before anything gets posted, we evaluate how it communicates at least one of our core values. Living out our values communicates our culture. And I think this really speaks to, especially for the communication directors that are here, part of your job is not just communicating on social media, designing websites and these kind of things. Part of it is communicating the core values that your leadership has really set out as the direction of your church. And so if you don't have those written down somewhere, I would go to your senior pastor, executive pastor, whoever it is, and say, hey, what are our core values, and are they written anywhere? And if not, can we find a way to communicate it? So that you can use that as really a litmus test for anything that you post, and really whatever you do in communications.
So mission and vision and your values. What are your core values? How can we communicate them online, not just in person? So, like, what we're thinking about here in this whole podcast is, does the vision and mission and vision, or the experience of your church, does it match what people see on the internet?
Exactly.
So they're getting exactly what they expected. And also, like, if they're a part of your church, that they feel like they're still part of your church when they're on social media and on your website. How can we use certain language so that it is completely the same across the board?
Exactly. And the temptation with us is, especially as communication directors, and when our leadership hasn't communicated those core values extremely well, is to start promoting our own core values. And it's really important that we capture the heart of our church, that capture the personality of our church, so that everything that we post doesn't align with us personally, but it aligns with our church as a whole.
Right. So figuring out what those things are, I mean, it's hard to do, but I definitely think it's worth taking the time to really sit down and think, because it really does not just direct, obviously, your church and the future of your church, which is kind of a big deal, but also it bleeds into social media. It bleeds into websites. So figuring out, like, what you can do to communicate that better is the best strategy that you can have.
So talk through at the end, I think this is really practical and really helpful, is the kind of the weekly calendar that you would put on there. With that weekly calendar, did you see a better engagement when you guys were more intentional about what you were going to post on what days? Did it make it easier for your team?
Okay, so I would say that the engagement was probably, I would say that it was more because, I was doing it more consistently. But really what helped with having a weekly calendar, it was more about for me than it was for our audience. Like, I thought, our audience will really care about this. And some of them really did. Like, some of them were always expecting this kind of post to be posted on Tuesday. Like, I did a Meet Brentwood thing for a long time. It was like hashtag Meet Brentwood. And I asked 3 questions to our staff members, and I feature a different staff member every Wednesday or something. So I do, what do you love about Brentwood? what do you love about our church, and then what do you love, what do you hope for the future for our city, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, and then I take a photo of the staff member. You can go back and look at them. They're just hashtag Meet Brentwood. And people really love those, and they love to share them, and they also expected them. So let's go back to the weekly calendar. So I'm going to read through what I had written for an example weekly calendar, but you can think about yourself, what you could do for a weekly calendar for your social media. Okay, so on Sundays, I put photos in the moment. You could also just say Facebook Live is your weekly thing on Sundays. Okay,
so that's just what's happening during your services and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I would post like photos in the moment, that kind of thing. All right, Mondays, I would do a video live interview with the pastor and the minister, just talking about events that were happening maybe that week or upcoming week. We'd sit down, do a Facebook Live, and just talk about what's coming up this week. But people love that. They expected it always at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. Okay, so Tuesday, I'd share a story, photo and a story that I took on Sunday. Okay, so on Sunday, I was looking and going around asking people, interviewing them, saying, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about what God is teaching you? And so, I started with my Sunday school class because it was easy to talk to them. And then I branched out and started asking people that I didn't really know. And I was really surprised. People were really receptive to it, even if it was maybe a little awkward at first. But I think that it was worth getting those stories, because obviously telling the story of life change and that kind of stuff, that's what we want to do more and more of. So Wednesday, I would recap the sermon with my pastor, maybe maybe doing something that's like looking forward to Sunday as well a little bit. And cool. He wouldn't re-preach the sermon at all, but I would get him to maybe do like a 2-minute video just saying like, this past Sunday, we learned about David or something, and you can go back and watch the video. Here's, just a small recap of what we learned. And people were really receptive. They enjoyed that. If we didn't do that, we might also do like guided prayer time. That was huge for our church. A lot of people don't know how to pray. A lot of people don't know what to pray for. So having a pastor guide you through a prayer was really effective for Brentwood. Like, it was just something that we did consistently, not just obviously on Facebook Live, but we did it in service as well a lot. And so it's something that people just don't know how to do it. So we would do guided prayer times for big like national events, especially. So like we did one right before the election, and it worked really, really well for the church. And then on Thursday, do a video live interview, maybe with a member, like sit down and just have them share about their story, or maybe they have an event coming up or something. A lot of this is Facebook Live, really heavy, but you don't have to necessarily do that. You can do a video. You could just take a picture or share a story. I mean, those things are fine too. Friday, you could share what to look forward to on Sunday, and then Saturday, we might feature a local business that your church loves, or maybe is a part of your church. Maybe a member runs it or something. Or maybe feature a member who's doing awesome work in the community, maybe somebody who's volunteering, giving back, something like that.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. That's, to me, it's super practical. One of the other things that I thought about, because you have a clear call to action on your website, one of the great things that churches, I think, could use social media more and probably do better are engaging the people in your church, in the community. And what I mean by that is like stepping outside of your church. So what are promote some of the events in your city that are going on that, your church needs to be involved in, because we talk about this idea of being the church outside of our walls.
The walls.
And that's a great way to give people ideas of where you can go and be the church. Give parents great, advice on where to go, where to go on a date night Friday night, or here's some things that are happening. So that's a great way to do something maybe that's outside of your church. I think that would
be fun too. Yeah. Date night suggestions or something.
So offer some of that. So it's like send that out on Thursday or Wednesday or something like that, and say, hey, you're planning a date night this week, or maybe you're doing a parents' night out. And so give them great ideas for where to go during this 4 hours that they have to themselves.
It was kind of fun. My friend Jessica Freeman did a dating through the ABCs thing with her husband. And I mean, why don't you do that for your church? Like come up with each letter of the alphabet, so like if you're on letter G, maybe say go golfing or whatever. So you could do that yourself and just do it on social media. So I just gave you like literally 27 ideas that you can, or 20.
You guys should be busy for the next month or so.
Yeah, you're good. You've got stuff to put on social media now. So just come up, just literally just sit down and write down the days of the week and write down, I will post this on this day.
Yeah.
Like I did for a long time. I had it a little different from this. I had it like Mondays is Mission Mondays, and we talked about mission work.
Hmm.
And that's fine. Like if that works for you, that's good. Like
Yeah,
it didn't
shake it
work.
up every quarter or something.
Yeah. I'd have to change it because it just got stale. We did way back Wednesdays or throwback Thursdays for a little while, where I just shared older pictures of the church and maybe talked about the history of the church a little while, and that
Yeah.
was really great. People enjoyed that. They loved sharing those kind of photos. Um, so just think there's different ways. Just sit down and list all those.
You don't have to just list announcements, and you don't have to just do inspirational quotes.
Please do not just list the
Otherwise, your
announcements.
social media account is just boring, and
Yeah.
people aren't engaging.
Right. And I shared, too, previously in the group about pepperoni pizza, right? Like asking about pizza toppings. Like sometimes you just have to do fun, silly posts that get lots of engagement so that
Hmm.
your other posts that are about the gospel get seen more.
Yep.
I know that it makes a lot of sense because that's how the algorithm prefers you to do it. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I know it'll be hard to convince your church that it's okay that you're asking for what kind of pepperoni pizza topping it is. But it's okay because the gospel goes further because you did it.
Yeah. And the algorithm will change next week anyway.
Right. And so, well, and it's about relationships, right? Like social media is
Right.
about being social. It's about creating relationships. So, what do you do in a relationship? You ask people about their pepperoni, toppings.
They want to talk about themselves, so give them the
They
opportunity.
do. People love to talk about themselves. So figure out ways to make people talk more about themselves on social
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
Okay. So this
Cool.
was a heavy deep dive
Yeah.
into
Well,
this post.
people can rewind and go back and pick up some more stuff. And
Yeah.
Rock Davis said, "There's something on my shirt." Yeah, let me see that. Oh, yeah, that's what it is right there. That's beautiful,
Put
Rock.
that down. Get that out of here. Okay.
Well, University of
So,
Mobile doesn't have a football team, so why not?
for the audio listeners, he was showing an LSU shirt and it
Yeah.
wasn't okay.
I'm in
It was
Vanderbilt country, so
okay. So I did want to say one more thing. So we talked about like creating a calendar and all that kind of stuff. But there is one more thing I'd like to talk about, and it's making sure that you invite the likers. Okay. So is this just a short little social media tip, like little strategy to make your post? So you're creating these posts, sharing stories of people, right? And you're getting a lot of likes from their family members who don't necessarily like the church's page. Go and click the people who like that post, and you can click this little button that says invite and invite
yeah,
them to your page. Okay.
yeah,
You can use this tool. It's called like Facebook Like Inviter. I think it's fblikeinviter.com. It's super sketch looking. You have to pay this guy on PayPal to get this tool that works in Google Chrome, or you can just go to the Google Chrome extension store and download the free one. There's a free one that will actually go through and click all those things for you. It makes your life so much easier, and you will we doubled like the number of people who were liking us per month after we started using that tool. So I definitely recommend just making sure you go in there and invite the people who like
yeah.
your content
That's a great
individually.
idea. That's a great way to increase people engaging with your page for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, cool. Well, this is fun.
Yeah, this was a good time. So thanks for hanging out today, Josh, even though you're
Post
in
your
Nashville.
question. Well, post your questions in the comments even after this is over if you have anything, and we'll try to get back to them. And
Yep.
Katie knows more about social media than I do, so lean on her expertise.
And if you like this show, be sure to subscribe to it on iTunes, like our Facebook page, join our Facebook group, Church Communications, visit churchcommunications.com. If you want to find this article on culture, you can just search for it. It's called Culture. It's back in October. So you should be able to find it pretty quick. All right.
Cool.
So thank you for hanging out with us today. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.